What is going on, guys? Theodore Hurdell here again. And as some of you, please don't tell me. Just a minute, guys. I gotta check if that actually worked. Oh, I don't want that. Please don't tell me. Just a minute, guys. What is going on? Okay, yeah. I just saw the live icon just go on, and I thought if my brain is fried, you guys. It was my first day as a senior, so yeah. As most of you, if not all of you know, the reboot to Stephen King's It is coming out on Friday, and I'm actually going to be seeing it on Saturday for El Rancho's Scarathon. So, what better time to actually do the history of the character that gave everyone the fear of clowns, Pennywise himself. Let's get started. Now, I'm going to. This is on the Stephen King wiki. I put a link to this in the description below. So let's do it. It, sometimes capitalized as it, and oh, cool. Someone's watching. Let's see. Just a minute, guys. I'm going to see who this. Let's see who it is. I don't know who's watching, but I know someone is. I think. Okay, never mind. Nobody. Okay, someone is watching. Might be me, but I'm not sure. So, um, capitalized as it, capital I, capital T, more commonly known as Pennywise the Dancing Clown, was the main antagonist of the novel and the film of the same name. It was portrayed to be a shape-shifting and malevolent entity millions, possible billions of years old, I should say, and with no exact gender or solid identity. Thus, why it is called it. It was a mysterious evil being from an unknown realm/dimension outside of the regions of space. When it came to planet Earth to feed, its favorite disguise was that of a colorful and wisecracking clown named Pennywise. It could also morph into any other being or thing it pleased, generally based on its target's loved ones or friends to lure them into traps or simply appear to them as their worst fears and nightmares. It preferred to attract children so it could capture and to capture and kill to devour them. It was capable of killing every kind of human, but mostly preferred to prey upon innocent human children because they were easier to manipulate and scare. According to the creature, frightened flesh tastes better. Now, onto the side, it has a picture of the reboot it played by. I'll mention that later. Born beginning of time, age unknown, died 1985? Question mark. Stat. Just a minute, guys. What? Yes, it is. Can you smack him? Anyway, status presumed dead. Also known as Robert Bob Gray. Now, that's what cracks me up because it's Robert Bob Gray is such a normal name. Yeah, this is a shape-shifted demon. Dad, I'm running to the store. You're in charge of the two beasts. What do you want for dinner? Do you want oodles and noodles? Sure. Right. Do we have beef bouillon, do you know? I would think so. Chris. Anyway, also known as Robert Bob Gray, Pennywise the Dancing Clown, the Eater of Worlds and Children. Now on to the affiliation. Occupation, consumption. Mom, help me. My stepfather is torturing me, guys. I'm not saying anything to that. Home with the macroverse. I say okay. If I didn't say his occupation is consumption. Just let me. I should. Just let me do this. I just wanted to send the link to this stream to some of my friends. Home, the Macroverse. Sewers of Derry, Maine. Loyalty itself. I'm triggered because it says it. I'm triggered. Actors portrayed by Tim Curry in the 1990 miniseries and Bill Skarsgård. Mr. Skarsgård, if I pronounce your last name wrong, even if you probably won't watch this video, I apologize if I pronounce your last name wrong. From the 2017 film. Now, the picture is from the 2017 movie. Okay, a nameless evil. Now, I'm going to read a quote that Pennywise said. I am eternal, child. I'm the eater of worlds. Why do I sound like... Okay, the way I'm saying it sounds weird. And of children, and you are next. It to the Losers Club. Okay. It apparently originated from an undiscovered void containing and surrounding the entire universe. A place referred to in the novel as the Macroverse. Just a minute, guys. They went to the store. Okay? Sorry about that, guys. My parents left to go to the store, and I have to keep an eye on the little monsters. A concept later established as the Todash Darkness of the Dark Tower novels, which, if you didn't know, and if you live in New York State, go down to, I think it's El Rancho? Ozoner. The Ozoner and El Rancho Facebook pages. Because, excuse me. Okay, I'm going to quickly check. Okay, so at El Rancho in Palatine Bridge, if you live anywhere near Palatine, go to El Rancho, and because it and the Dark Tower are playing. And if you want, come find me near the concession stand because I'm going to be there a few times. And come ask how did I start making videos, and I don't know why. Anyway, its real name, if indeed it has one, is unknown. Although at several points in the novel, it claims its true name to be Robert. I'm sorry, that's the most normal name, which is ironic. That is ironic because of that. Robert Gray is the most normal name, but it's I'm sorry, it's just ironic. Oops, I don't want to message it. Okay. Anyway, and it's named It by the group of children who later confront it. Every time it says it, I'm going to be triggered. Throughout the book, it triggered is generally referred to as a male. However, late in the book, the protagonist to believe that it triggered may be a female due to its manifestation as a monstrous female spider. This is, however, not its triggered true form. It triggered. I'm just gonna say. Ooh, someone's watching. Let's see if someone commented. Whoever you are, can you leave a comment? I would deeply appreciate it, so I could thank you for watching this stream. Because besides me, so I could read the comments. Anyway. Wait, no, I don't want my Gmail. Crypt. It triggered is simply the closest the human mind can come to approximating it triggered. I'm done saying triggered because if I do, it's gonna be. I should name if I do say triggered a lot. It's gonna say Ted becomes triggered by every time the word it comes up. Its natural form. Just a minute, guys. Charlie. Can you please stop, bud? Okay, sorry about that, guys. Let's see. Still only 2 people. its natural form exists in a realm beyond the physical, which it calls the deadlights, describing it as a writhing, destructive orange lights coming face to face with the deadlights drive any living being instantly insane. Bill comes dangerously close to seeing the deadlights after looking into its eyes. He saw the shape behind the wait. He saw the shape behind the shape for a brief moment. Okay. He described the sight as an endless, crawling, hairy creature made of orange lights, but he and Richie successfully defeated it before the deadlights can impact Bill. The only known person to face the deadlights, survive, and regain her sanity is Audra Phillips, who I think is actually the wife of Bill. Yeah, he's the wife of Audra. Is the wife of Bill, and okay, so yeah, its natural enemy is the turtle, another ancient Macroverse dweller who eons ago created our universe and possibly others. The turtle appears in team series The Dark Tower as Maturin. And just a minute, guys. Chris? Can I pick up the jar? I know, Charlie. Okay, the turtle appears in teen series The Dark Tower as Maturin, one of the guardians of the beam. The series suggests that it, along with the turtle, are themselves creations of a separate omnipotent creator referred to as the Other, who may be the entity Don. I don't know who Don is. He is actually mentioned by name in Song of Susanna, which is the sixth installment in the Dark Tower series. Still no comments. Okay. Sorry. Okay. My shoelace was stuck. The turtle in it are eternal enemies in a battle of creation against consumption. It may in fact be either a twinner of, or the actual one of the six greater demon elementals mentioned by Mia and Song of Susanna, as a spider. As a spider is not one of the beam guardians, arrived in our world in a massive cataclysmic event similar to an asteroid impact in the place that would much later become Derry, Maine. Throughout the novel, not the creature, the novel, some events are described through its point of view. It describes itself as the superior being with the turtle as someone close to its superiority, and humans as mere toys. It states that it prefers to kill and devour children, not by nature, but rather because children's fears are easier to manipulate and then interpret into a physical form. Thus, children are easier to fill with terror, which it says is akin to salting the meat. Okay, this is some. Okay, then. It is continually surprised by the losers' victories over it, and near the end, it begins to question if it is not as superior as it had once thought. However, it doesn't believe that the individual children are strong enough to defeat it. Only with the Other working through them as a group does it believe they can harm it. Now that's it. Nope. Anyway, sorry about that pun. That's about it for A Nameless Evil. Now to Ancient Cycle. Time for another. Okay, so this is also. There are more quotes. You have no power. This is the power. Feel the power, brat, and then speak again of how you come to kill the Eternal. It to build Denbro in the Macroverse. For millions of years, it dwelt underground, awaiting the arrival of mankind, which it somehow knew would occur. Just a minute, guys. I'm going to see if. Okay, so there's still two people watching, but nobody commented. And I don't think that's anyone from the Ranger Weekly chat room because nobody even saw unless they already. Oh, I already told them, but I don't know. Anyway, once people came and settled over the resting place where it dwelled, and Derry would be eventually built, it adopted a pattern of hibernating and awakening approximately every 27 to 30 years to kill prey and feast on flesh of innocent children. When it awakens, it is always marked by a great and brutal act of violence, such as a murder or suicide, as the creature was naturally drawn to suffering and tragedy. The one and only way it can be stopped and the killing spree will end is by another act of violence or tragic death as brutal or as significant as the first act. Then it will be forced back into a long hibernation. Just a minute, guys. Charlie. Charlie. Mommy and Daddy went to the store. Okay, now this is the timeline. Now it goes from 1750 all the way to 1985, where 1750 is when it awakens. And 1985 is the latest in the timeline so far. 1715 to 1716, it awoke. 1740 to 1743, it awoke and started a 3-year reign of terror that culminated with the disappearance of over 300 settlers from Derry Township, much like the Roanoke Island mystery. 1769 to 1770, it awoke. I'm sensing a pattern. 1851, it awoke when a man named John Marston poisoned his family, then committed suicide by eating a white nightshade mushroom, causing him an excruciating death. Ooh, okay. 1876 to 1879, it awoke, then went back into hibernation after murdering a group of lumberjacks who were later found near the Kanduskeag. Okay. 1904 to 1906. It awoke when a lumberjack named Claude Hurowitz murdered a number of men in a bar with an axe. Hurowitz was promptly pursued by a mob of townsfolk and hanged, or hung. It returned to hibernation when the Kitchener ironworks exploded, killing 108 people, 88 of whom were children, engaged in an Easter egg hunt. Well, that's depressing. 1929 to 1930, it awoke when a large group of Derry citizens gunned down a small group of gangsters known as the Bradley Gang. It returned to hibernation when the Maine Legion of White Decency, a northern counterpart to the Ku Klux Klan, burned down an African American Army nightclub known as the Black Spot. Well, this just got a little depressing, but I could do this. I've dealt with worse. I watched Super Megaforce and that made me depressed. Sorry. 1957 to 1958. It awoke when Dorothy Corcoran was beaten to death by his stepfather, Richard Macklin. Its first known victim at this time was Georgie, who is Ben, right? Bill. Yeah, sorry. Was Georgie, who is Bill's younger brother, during one of the floods that hit Derry every few years. It then met his match when the Losers Club forced it to return to an early hibernation when wounded by the young Bill Denborough, Georgie's older brother, in the first ritual of Chud. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I don't even. Okay, it even appeared in the movie, or I should say the miniseries. Okay. 1984 to 1985. It awoke when 3 young homophobic bullies beat up a young homosexual couple, Adrian Mellon and Don Haggerty, throwing Mellon off a bridge, echoing real-life events in Maine. It was finally defeated in the second ritual of Chud by the adult Bill Denbrough, Richie Tozier, Beverly Marsh, Eddie Casbrack, and Ben Hanscom. I'm gonna see what they look like in the movie, so I know who's who, if they even come up. That is. I forgot Stan, but yeah, in the original, he actually he kills himself, and that's really depressing. Huh? He was also mentioned in a book, the 60th book, published by Stephen King, 11/22/63, which November 22nd, 1963. Okay. Okay, so I now know who's who. I knew who Beverly, Ben, and Bill would look like, but just not the others. Um, though this triggered the collapse of the water tower and flooding of the town. Wow, I don't think that was in. I don't think that was in the miniseries, because they just after the death of Eddie, I think. I'd like to say it was Eddie. Let's see. Yeah, he was. Wow, the death in the book was way different. Apparently, it manifested as a giant spider rips off Eddie's arm, causing him to bleed out and die. That's definitely depressing. But in the movie, he just impaled Eddie. Jeez, this is depressing. I wonder if the other characters died. I'm going to see. I mean, I know Stan and Eddie died. I don't know if the others died. Okay, so nothing for. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't say anything for the other characters. So anyway, in the intervening periods between each pair of violent bookending events, a series of child murders occur in Derry, which are never solved. The book's surface explanation as to why these murders are never reported on the national news is that location matters to a news story. A series of murders, no matter how gruesome, don't get reported if they happen in a small town. However, the book's implied reason for why the atrocities go unnoticed is far more sinister. It won't let them be noticed in the larger world. Well, crap. Now, powers and abilities. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna have to go all out with this line.
We all float down here, Henry. We all float. When you're down here with us, you'll float too. Kill them all. Come visit anytime. Bring your friends.
What is wrong with my life? It, in the form of the moon, when speaking to Henry Bowers about killing the Losers Club in 1958. Wait, what? Who's Henry? What does Henry look like? Okay, so. Oh, God, this guy. I don't want to get started with Henry. He creeps me out. Okay, some of his powers include shape shifting. It can immediately transform itself into any kind of being, taking the frightful image directly from the victim's mind regarding the size or nature of the mental image. It took the form of a giant plastic statue, several small. Wait, what? A giant plastic statue? What? What? I know I don't like swearing, but I'm going to say what JonTron says. What? What the bleep? That was supposed to be the F bomb, but I don't like swearing until I'm out of the house. Several small life entities, flying leeches, or several human-sized entities when the adult Eddie is confronted by the cadavers of Greta Bowie. Okay. Patrick Hotsetter and Welch Huggins at the baseball field. Between shape shifting, it is an orange and amorphous goo, which is somewhat close to its true form. Some may disagree, however, saying that the spider is the closest to its true form. Others may argue that the clown is its true form. This is untrue. However, the clown is only its most favored form. Okay. Now, I think Patrick Hotsetter is in the new It movie as the missing poster in the first trailer. I actually did a video of that a few months ago or a couple months ago. I'm not sure, but I tried to do an analysis. So yeah, illusions. It can create many different illusions, which are realistic enough to harm its victims. These illusions include balloons floating against. Oh, every time balloons. I'm sorry. If you want to know how ridiculous that is, I should really. After this. I didn't think of this. I'm just reading it word for word right now because I never read it now. But I'm going to put in the link down in the description down below. I'm going to put a link to the Nostalgia Tears drunk review, not really drunk review. I'm not sure at least of his trailer, not his trailer, but his review to the original It. Balloons, just balloons. Balloons floating against the wind, moving photographs. Okay, yeah, that in the original that actually was pretty terrifying. I don't know why, but just seeing the pictures move and then seeing him jump out, almost like going to attack the Losers Club. Ugh. Blood gushing. Okay, that's just gross. Small shocking entities such as a cricket, a mutant. Okay, I'm going to look something up. Okay. So basically, I'm going to make a joke here. So, such as a cricket, a mutant fly. So, Jeff Goldblum. If you don't get it, there was a movie he was in called The Fly. He becomes a giant fly. Teeth. Okay. Okay, yeah, now I remember. And an eyeball, which were hidden in the fortune cookies at the. What? What? Just a minute, guys. I'll be right back. Don't you give a fuck, Tom? But Daddy scaled back. Come on, I already just fixed that scale. He said, no, you didn't. So I'm going back because I told my. Okay, I'm back. My parents just got home. And still nobody's coming. Different noises and music, including human speech and various smells, such as popcorn, cotton candy, and rotting. Oh, that's just. The partial invisibility fully applies on all of these illusions, as only the chosen victims can actually see and sense them. After a short period of time, or when the victim actually sees through the illusion, these illusions will cease to exist. It is imperative, however, to see through the illusions perfectly. Another illusion created by it is the huge interior of a house in a building. Huh. I don't think that was seen and shown in the original. I'm going to have to rewatch it. Partial invisibility. This was clearly stated in several cases, most notably when the adult Beverly encounters Pennywise at the place where she used to live, or when the adult Ben Hanscom encounters it in the public library. This was this suggests that only those who actually believe or have knowledge about its existence are able to see it. See it, although it can become fully visible to anyone when it is necessary or wishes to do so. One notable moment was when it helped Ben Bowers to escape the. Okay, I got this. Escape from Juniper Hill. One of Henry's cellmates and then the guards also witnessed it next to Henry. Again, in order for this to be partial invisibility, it would also have to not be felt as Bev left blood in the sink long enough for her father to have used it multiple times without noticing. Okay. As for the guard part, in the miniseries, its head, Pennywise's head, I should say, turns into that of a dog. And the nostalgia critic was supposedly drunk when he saw this. Like, it was more likely that the blood was a psychic projection, and that it either left a psychic imprint or was presumably maintained as the fact that it, quote unquote, the fact that it was able to instantly respond when the blood was cleaned the first time implies that there might be at least a combination of the two, if not entirely and perpetually maintained. Yes, regeneration. While it is clearly not invulnerable, it and in fact can be wounded and damaged in lesser to great degrees, it can almost spontaneously regenerate. This ability of it appears to be untrustworthy, as seen during the young Mike Hanlon. Wait, Mike. Oh yeah, he's encounter. Mike Hanlon's encounter with a giant bird. After Mike hit the bird's eye and its feet with broken tiles, the bird quickly decided to retreat. On the other hand, when Bill and Richie encounter it in its werewolf form at 29 Neibolt Street, it can almost instantly regenerate itself after Bill's headshot with a Walther PPK. I don't know what that is. Okay, so I'm going to look up what a Walther PPK is. Okay, I think that was seen in one of the trailers. I would have to go over it because I was watching crap, what's it called? One of the compilation trailers, and it showed one of the characters with a gun. And then chase the boys for a somewhat long period. It is unclear how it utilizes its quick regeneration abilities, but it might be a necessarily corporeal ability. Opinions differ about whether or not it could be killed merely with heavy firepower and weapons in its physical form. Okay, so telepathy. Now, it also has another power that has to do with telepathy, more like a subgenre, sort of. It can read minds when in close proximity. This ability is the one it most exploits, usually when taking on a form. But in several cases, it can clearly read the loser's thoughts and exploit them to its own advantage. It can also communicate telepathically, as seen in the library scene with adult Richie Tozier, or in the Juniper Hill scene with Henry Bowers. Now the subgenre or sub ability to telepathy would be the brainwashing / mind control. Now I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure this was in the miniseries because none of the adults did anything when the kids were being bullied. So I think that has to do with it. Anyway, it has the power of brainwashing several minds and simultaneously. This also suggests that it has the ability to erase particular things from a person's memory or knowledge. During the two confrontations between the Losers Club and it, Bill discovers that this and warns his friend that Derry is it, and that any place they go, they won't see, they won't hear, they won't know. This hugely affects the minds of the locals who live within Derry, making them indifferent about the terrible events that are taking place. Generally, it appears that the weaker-willed citizens and visitors succumb to its powerful mind control. This ability presumably has no effect on people outside Derry's boundaries. Okay. Teleportation. Now this is, I think, is used a lot. It can teleport itself to limited distances by the disappearing without a trace and reappearing somewhere else a bit later. Although a very useful and effective ability, it does not seem to exploit this too often. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to, like I said a few minutes ago, I'm going to have to rewatch this to see if it actually does. Plant/Floricide. With a touch of it, can instantly cause plants to die. If you, okay, I'm going to make a joke here. Are you tired of those pesky weeds? Hire Pennywise. He'll get rid of them for you. There's several things wrong with me. This is shown when Eddie, young and adult, encounters it in its leper form. What's a leper? What the heck? Hey, Mom, what's a leper?
It's somebody with a skin disease of like open sores and stuff.
Okay, because it says here, Eddie, young and adult, encounters it in its leper form.
So probably open sores.
But for some reason, it's mentioned in some of its abilities for plant and floricide. Let's see. Going to quickly look it up. I should probably just keep reading it. It must be distinguished from the illusions mentioned earlier, as this effect persists long after its appearance, although it does not serve any particular purpose. Telekinesis. It can manipulate inanimate objects, making them fall, float.
They all float down here.
I'm sorry, guys. This is just so funny. And behave supernaturally. This includes locking doors and electronic devices. That's how he keeps it. How he's able to keep the balloons floating away. I'm sorry, guys. Weather control. It may be able to affect the weather in Derry's region. On more than one occasion, when the losers face it, the weather changes into a thunderstorm, most notably at the final confrontation, which actually results in the devastation of Derry's downtown region. Possibly photokinesis or light manipulation, as suggested by its true form, the deadlights, in addition to being able to create illusions. Its forms. Another quote, guys. Okay, so. Ooh, more timeline. Yay! Okay, anyway. I should probably get back up here. Won't do you any good to run, girly boy. It in the form of a leper wearing a clown suit while speaking to. What? That doesn't make sense. My mom said a leper is Mom, what did you say a leper was? An open sore? Ah, that explains it. Okay, never mind, guys. A leper is a person with an open sore. Wearing a clown suit while speaking to Eddie and Neibolt Street. It has many powers, one of these being the ability to shapeshift to scare the children of Derry. It has changed into a number of things, including, obviously, Pennywise the Dancer Clown. Its favorite form and primary disguise, mainly used when hunting children, often carries balloons. Every time no joke, it's because of this movie I have a fear of balloons sometimes. That's a dumb reason. Anyway, George Denbrough, when Bill examines his brother's photo album in 1985, when the losers encounter it under the sea, appears to them as Georgie. Oh god, that Georgie scene, them feels, guys. Dorsey Corcon's reanimated corpse and
The creature from the Blood Lagoon.
when pursuing Eddie Corcoran. Wait, Eddie Corcoran. Wow. Eddie Cor. I cannot pronounce this, guys. Corcorans. Eddie Corcoran. The voice of Betty Ripsum, one of its victims, overhears by her parents through a drain to taunt them. Her voice, along with the voices of Matthew Clements and Veronica Grogan, appear from the drain, were heard by Beverly as well. A giant bird inspired both by a crow that attacked Mike Hanlon, as I mentioned earlier, as a baby, and also Rodan, a giant pteranodon featured in a Japanese horror film called Rodan, obviously, from 1957. When pursuing Mike Hanlon, oddly, it also appears as a giant bird to Will Hanlon, Mike's father, thus making him one of the few adults who could see it. Now, that was not actually seen in the movie because, well, this was back in the 1990s. Yes, the werewolf. When it encounters Richie and Bill wearing a Derry High School blazer inspired by the 1957 horror film I Was a Teenage Werewolf, while in the house on, you guessed it, if you guessed 29 Neibolt Street, you are correct. Oh boy. And still nobody's watching. The leper / diseased homeless man, when Eddie first encounters it under the porch of the house on 29 Neibolt Street. What is it with 29 Neibolt Street? What is that place anyway? I'm going to have to look it up. Oh, it's that house. That's the house I was referring to in one of my. You do know that's basically where it tortures his victims, right? My stepfather is weird, but I mentioned this house. I just didn't know the address in a video I made with when the first trailer to it came out. I mentioned that this house might be the same house that Stan encountered Pennywise and read all the names of the birds that he could remember. The Mummy. Okay, then. Ben Hanscom recalls seeing a mummy from the original movie in Pennywise's clown costume walking around the frozen canal towards him. It carried balloons that floated against the wind. The eye. When encountering the losers under the city. Alvin Marsh, Beverly's abusive father of whom she is terrified. A swarm of winged leeches when attacking Patrick Hotsteller. A swarm of piranhas when Eddie is trying to crossing the stream. The shark of Jaws. Okay, wait, what? I'm going to have to look something up. Okay, never mind. I want to because it takes place in 1985, but so never mind. Seen by a boy named Tommy Bacanza. I do not know if I pronounced that name right. Tommy Mechanaza and the Dairy Canal in 1985. Dracula. Seen by Ben in the Dairy Library in 1985. It does not look like any of the traditional variations of Dracula, but rather resembles Caraballo from King's own Salem's Lot, very old and with razor blades of teeth. He asked Ben, "What did Stan see before he committed suicide?" I should say it like I did.
What did Stan see before he committed suicide?
The vampire then chomps down on his own mouth, causing his lip to split open and bleed out to the floor. Oh god, I hope that's not in the new movie, because that'd be terrifying and gross. Ugh. The Paul Bunyan statue, referred to as the Giant One, encountering Richie outside of the town. Tony Tractor, the manager of a trucking depot in Derry during the Losers' childhood. Greta Bowie, a female classmate of the Losers in 1958 who died in a car crash a few years later, and Patrick Hochsteller's decomposing corpse, seen by Eddie at Tractor Brothers in 1985 when he visits an old baseball diamond near the depot. Frankenstein's monster, when encountering Henry Bowers and his sidekicks Victor Chris and Belch Huggins in the sewers under Derry. I think that was in the movie. I'm not sure. A Doberman Pinscher. What? What the crap is a Doberman? Mom, what's a Doberman Pinscher? Okay, what the crap is a Doberman? Okay, a Doberman Pinscher is a type of dog. Okay. Appears to Henry Bowers in 1985 at Juniper Hills Institution. It turns into an... That's what I was talking about earlier. With the guard, it turns into an 8-foot tall or 2.4 meter dog of this breed because it is the only animal that the guard on duty fears. Just that scene, just top notch. The ghost, meanwhile, convincing Henry Bowers do its dirty work. Victor Chris, while convincing Henry Bowers to help it. Jimmy Donlan, one of the inmates at Juniper Hills, sees it as his mother. The head of Stan Uris, full of feathers inside Mike's fridge. Also, oh yeah, Stan is the guy that committed suicide, and so also appears again as a Jack in the Box when Henry fights Mike in the library. Mike sees Stan's head again before changing to Belch's head, while Henry sees Victor's head. The witch from Hansel and Gretel, Beverly Marsh, visits her former home to find a woman named Mrs. Kirsch living there. Mrs. Kirsch then transforms into the witch, revealing that she is actually it. Decomposing, waterlogged corpses of children preceded by Stan Uris as he enters a standpipe and remembers the tale of kids who drowned in the water tower's reservoir. That's depressing. Reginald Belch Huggins in zombie-like form. It takes this form when it gives Henry Bowers a lift to the Derry townhouse to murder the remaining Losers Club members in 1985. It pits Henry up in a 1958 Plymouth Fury, a direct reference to Kane's novel Christine. I just noticed something. There are several references to Kane's novels in it. Like it takes the form of a 1958 Plymouth Fury. In the book, apparently. And guess what that's a reference to? Oh, boy, this is... Also, whenever I get triggered when I hear float. They all float down here. The Deadlights, when Henry Bowers and the Losers encounter it, this is its form in the Macroverse. People will see this form of it if they look too long in the spider's eyes. The giant spider, which is the closest physical representation of Earth. Okay. Then get down, Chris. Yes, you can. Chris, come on. Dad. He says he can't get down, but he wants to. 1957 to 1958. Okay. This is the line I was telling you about, guys. Okay, I'm gonna have to unleash my inner Tim Curry.
I'll kill you all. Ha ha. I'll drive you crazy, and then I'll kill you all. I'm your every nightmare you ever had. I'm your worst dream come true. I'm everything you've ever afraid of.
It in the form of Pennywise the Clown in 1958, threatening to kill the losers. Now that scene creeped me out. Now I'm guessing this is actually the relationship. So yeah, let's start with George. George Denbrough. In the opening of the book and film, George is murdered after it appearing as Pennywise, tearing his arm off and leaves him to bleed to death. He was killed in October 1957. His death leads to a chain of events of that summer. Betty Ripson, a female classmate of the losers and Henry's gang. Oh God, she was killed by it in the form of Pennywise. Her parents heard her voice in the scene. She was killed on December 26th, the day after Christmas. Oh crap. Edward N. Corcoran. While sitting on a bench to cool down, it, in the form of Dorothy's reanimated corpse, grabs Eddie on the ankle. Wait, what? Okay, never mind. I thought I was talking about the other Eddie. Crap. Grabs Eddie on the ankle and chases after him. Afterwards, it changes into the Yellow Man, or the creature from the Black Lagoon, and tears his head from his. Okay, now that has to be gruesome. Tears his head from his body. He was killed on June 19th. Oh crap! Veronica Grogan. Beverly Marsh reveals to the losers that a friend of hers, Veronica Grogan, was killed by Pennywise in late June. Okay, this actually appears to be the deaths all the people he killed, which actually makes sense because these are all people who Pennywise killed, or it. Patrick Hotsetter. After Henry threatens to tell Patrick's secret from trapping small vulnerable animals in a refrigerator and leaving them to die by suffocation, Patrick leaves and disposes of the corpse, but is attacked by it in the form of several winged leeches, which makes large holes in his body. He falls unconscious due to blood loss and shock. When he awoke, it had started eating him. He was killed in late July. Holy crap, that's even more gruesome. Not as gruesome as Eddie. Ugh. Which I'm just hope these deaths aren't really in the movie. Especially Eddie. I mean, that'd be terrifying. Butch Bowers. After Henry receives a switchblade from Pennywise in the mail, he goes inside his home and murders his dad by pressing the knife into his neck and then releasing the spring-loaded blade into his neck. Although Butch's death is not a death committed by it telepathically dispatched Henry to carry out the killing. His son was later arrested for Butch's demise. Butch was killed in mid-August. Wait, Butch Bowers is the father of... Oh, crap. Vic, Chris, and Belch Huggins. While searching for the losers in the sewers with Henry Bowers, still no comments, but okay. Victor and Belch are both killed by it in the form of Frankenstein's monster. In this form, it decapitates Victor. After killing Vic, it pursues Henry, but Belch defends him. Despite Henry leaving fleeing and Belch's strength, it easily overcomes him and mutilates his face. Both were killed in mid-August, making them the final victims of the summer. 1984 to 1985. Ah, yes. Take your pick. Billy boy. Oh, all except the one at the end. That's already taken. Sorry. It in the form of Pennywise taunting Bill Denbrough in 1985. Adrian Mellon. The first victim of it in 1984, a gay man was assaulted by three homophobic youths: John Webby Garton, Stephen Bishop Dubé, and Chris Unwin. Adrian was thrown off over a bridge and killed by Pennywise, while Chris and Adrian's boyfriend Don Haggerty watched in horror. He was killed in July 1984. Stan Uris. Even though his death was not directly caused by it, Stan used his own blood to write "it" on the bathroom wall. He died on May 28th. Lori Ann Winterberger. Oh God, the little girl on the tricycle. That's it. Now that part was really depressing. She's the first person that we know is a victim in the movie. It starts the chain of movie events, which leads to Mike called the rest of the Lucky Seven due to the pact they made as children. In the novel, she is a victim of it, although her death did not start the chain of events in the novel in its present time, 1984 to 1985. She was attacked between 7 and 14 of February 1985, several months after the death of Adrian Mellon. John Kuntz. When helping Henry escape from Juniper Hill, Kuntz intervenes but is killed when it returns into his worst fear as a Doberman pinscher and mauls him to death while Henry watches in horrified fascination. Henry Bowers. When he finds the hotel the losers are staying, he finds Eddie's room and engages in a fight between himself and Eddie. Eddie and Ben in the film kills Henry in self-defense. Henry was killed in June of 1985. Tom Rogan. When he arrives in Derry to kill Beverly. Wait, Tom. Oh God, this guy. I hate this guy. Tom Rogan.
Oh, he played what's her name's boyfriend?
Beverly.
Yeah.
I hated this guy.
Yeah, well, he was meant to be hated.
Good point. When he arrives in Derry to kill Beverly. Wow.
That's according to the book.
Yeah. Pennywise hypnotizes him. It convinces Tom to capture Aldra Phillips and bring her to its lair beneath the city. Upon seeing its true form, Tom drops dead in shock. He was killed in June 1985. Edward Eddie Kasparek, the last victim of it. During the final battle between it and the losers, Eddie uses his inhaler, which he imagines as battery acid, on it, managing to severely injure it and free Bill and Richie from its void, the deadlights. However, it manages to tear his arm off in that moment, leaving Eddie to die of shock and blood loss, the same manner in which Georgie was killed. But as I said, in the movie, he was actually just Mom. Eddie was at the end of the movie. Eddie, the one with the inhaler, didn't get his arm ripped off. He was impaled, right?
No, he was just thrown against a rock, so his back was broken, so he died.
Oh, I thought he was impaled. Okay, never mind. My mom, he was thrown into a rock. Yeah, in the book, it was a much more gruesome death.
Well, yeah, in a book they can do a lot more gruesome than they could in a TV movie back then.
Yeah, like one of the deaths, no joke. One of the characters was decapitated. I hope that's not in the movie. That'd be gruesome even for.
They do better special effects now than they could in the original movie.
I know, but still, that'd be. Here is Final Destination. Even though I've never seen Final Destination, but I've seen the deaths. If they did a decapitation, it'd be up here, probably. Just like that'd be gruesome even for today's standards. Its weakness, despite it seeing itself as a superior being and stating that its brain embraces the whole continent, it is far from being almighty. Though it does seem to have a significant power over Derry and the town's citizens, it displays several weaknesses which the losers exploit. For instance, it clearly underestimates and scorns all of mankind. Mankind, that's a word. all of mankind, including the losers. It is notable in many cases that it leaves an open escape route for the victims and lets them run away. This was seen when the young Ben Hanscom, I do not encountered the mummy, and when Eddie saw the leper under the porch on 29 Neibolt Street. Okay, there should be like a counter on how many times I've said 29 Neibolt Street somewhere, but I'm not a good editor, so I can't like put an actual, you know. As a result of this superiority complex, it constantly makes mistakes and does illogical things. When Henry Bowers and his sidekicks chase the losers into the sewer tunnel system, it attacks Henry's gang instead and turns on the losers after killing 2 of Henry's friends. It also mentioned in the novel that it killed a child named Frederick. Okay, it was the power chamber thing. By emerging from the toilet, and yet it was unable to finish off the losers one by one using the same method because it didn't believe that it needed to do so in order to kill them. You know something's wrong when you. Just a minute, guys. Pennywise sucks. He thinks the losers aren't good enough for him to kill like he did the rest of the kids. Because here he won't even decapitate one of them because he thinks that they're that bad. Pennywise is dumb. It's because of him that he was defeated. Let's see. It is a physically sensitive entity, so courage and heart can overcome it. Overcome it. Even in his most diabolical forms, once the losers are together, their strong shared will and love for each other successfully overpowered it and its fiendish machinations. Every time I say it, I'm triggered. And also, I should put. I don't know how, but every time I say 29 Neibolt Street, there has to be a ding. Because I've said it several times. Okay, let's see. Their strong faith in their various methods of fighting it triggered. Eventually lead them to victory. The losers' assault on 29 Neibolt Street, ding, forced it triggered to quickly retreat after being hit by a silver slug because of the losers' common sense solution of using silver against supernatural entities. That is actually only werewolves, not all supernatural beings. Okay, I'm not gonna get triggered every time I say it because that's gonna take a while. The novel also states that when it transforms into a shape, it must obey the laws of that form. This clearly means that it is not invulnerable, and its physical form can bleed and can be significantly damaged and perhaps even destroyed. Okay. It goes into hibernation for approximately 30 years between killing cycles. During its hibernation, it may be extremely vulnerable to surprise attacks. However, despite having been defeated for good, it has been heavily implied in other books, such as the Dreamcaster, which the Nostalgia Critic also reviewed, I think. Yeah, and the last Nostalgia Ween, and Hearts in Atlantis, that it may be still alive. Its natural enemy, the turtle Manturin, is mentioned in the Dark Tower series, and the character Father Callahan, yeah, even managed to defend himself from a large group of demons using a cross and the turtle image. In spite of the latter having quote unquote died during this novel, so it can be speculated that only part of its form was destroyed. Oh, joy. Time to read some quotes. This is gonna be fun. Okay, so there was a novel There was not a novel. This is from the quotes I'm about to read are from the It novel. Okay, now these aren't said by it, so I'm just going to say it like in my normal voice. There was a clown in the storm drain. The light was so far from good, and it was good enough so that Georgie Denborough was sure that of what he was seeing. It was a clown, like in the circus or on TV. In fact, he looked like a cross between Bozo and Clarabelle. I thought Clarabelle was a cow. No,
Well, it's almost 6 o'clock and you suck active.
I know. I mean, I think I'm almost done. Yeah, I'm almost done. All I have to do is read the quotes. Okay. And appearances. Okay. Who taught by honking his or was it her? George Denborough was never really sure of the gender. Horn on Howdy Doody Saturday morning, Buffalo Bob was just about the only one who could understand Clarabelle, and that always cracked Georgie up. The face of the clown in the storm drain was white. There were funny tufts of red hair on either side of his bald head. There was a big clown smile painted over his mouth. If Georgie would have been inhabiting a later year, he would have surely thought of Ronald McDonald before Bozo or Clarabelle. The clown had a bunch of balloons, all colors, like gorgeous ripe fruit in one hand. In the other, he held Georgie's newspaper boat. That's from the It novel. And obviously. Then the clown's face changed, and what little George Denborough saw next was terrible enough to make his worst imaginings of the things in the basement look like sweet, angelic dreams. What he saw destroyed his sanity in one clawing stroke, and George knew no more. Now his appearances. It, the novel. It, the film. I don't know if that's actually the 2017 version. Probably. That's actually the 1990 miniseries. So I'm not going to go talk about that because I'm going to be here for a while. So maybe some other time. Gray Matter mentioned. Dreamcatcher mentioned. The Tommy. Hey, Mom. He was appearances for It. Tommy Knockers. Hey, you said Tommy Knockers is one of your favorites.
No.
Yeah, that's what you said.
I used to harass a girl I went to college with Tommy Knockers phrases.
How?
I'd call her room just Tommy Knockers, knock the door. Tommy Knockers, coming after more. You click.
Would you do that to me if I watched Tommy Knockers?
There's only one phone line in this house.
I mean, when I get a new phone, you could call me.
Then you can see who's calling you now.
Not always. I don't really pay attention. Or when I go to college, maybe.
Teddy, if you go to college, you'll probably still be living here.
Right, now I'm going to be going to the FMCC.
Which means you'll probably still be living here.
No.
You may not be eligible for yours.
Why?
It all depends on if they have enough.
Well, yeah, I'm saying if. Okay. Anyway. The Tommy Knockers, possibly a hallucination. 11/22/63 I mentioned, or November 22nd, 1963 mentioned, and Insomnia mentioned. Now there are a bunch of these pictures which are really weird. So that's about it actually. So yeah, on Sunday, sometime Sunday, I'm going to be making another video talking about my thoughts on the two movies, The Dark Tower and It, but in separate videos probably, so I don't mix them up. But it's because of It, the movie, that that I had my fear of clowns, but I'm still going to go see it. And no pun intended. And on the El Rancho and Ozoner Facebook page, both my mom and I, we entered a contest to, what was the contest about, Mom? The El Rancho and Ozoner contest. What's that for? A free night? Okay, it was a free entry. What did you say, Mom? Comment? Liked and shared? Okay, yeah, she said liked and shared. I put, fear of clowns, here I come. Because it was because of the original, I had a fear of clowns. So that's going to be about it. Once again, I'll put a link. I put the link to the wiki for the creature in the description. And once this is done, I'll put a link to Nostalgia Critics review the mini series down below. So in the meantime, this is Theodore Adele asking you to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button, share this video on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I think. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.